අද්විතීය 200 Mbps ස්පීඩ් එකකින් ශ්‍රී ලංකාවේ වේගවත්ම සහ පුළුල්තම හෝම් බ්‍රෝඩ්බෑන්ඩ් සම්බන්ධතාවය වන SLT මොබිටෙල් දේශීය ෆයිබර් බලවේගය ඔබත් අදම අත්විඳින්න.
හරිම සුළුයි.
Tonight on First at 9, this Thursday the 15th of June 2023. Passport applications. An online passport application system was launched in Homagama today. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says other sectors of the country too will be digitalized in the future. Educated education. President Ranil Wickremesinghe stresses on the importance of a robust education system to achieve the target of a developed country. Break tax breaks. Sri Lanka should renegotiate past tax holidays, says former director of IMF's Institute for Capacity Development, Dr. Shamini Kure.
Some people have got tax holidays for 30, 40 years. That's not fair. We have to remember that a lot of the beneficiaries of the tax breaks are local firms, not foreign firms.
Work hard, panic less. Sri Lanka State Minister of Finance urges public not to panic despite US dollar spike, assures that central bank is on top of things.
Alliance Finance මෙතුරු රන්නයි සේවාවෙන් රන් පවුම්කට රුපියල් 1,70,000ක ඉහළ අධිකාරම.
ඔබේ විශ්වාසය දිනු සෙන්සුරයින් දැන් ළඟමැති ෆාමසියෙන් ලබාගත හැක.
This is AdaDerana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9. I am Shanella Fernando in your top stories for tonight. President Ranil Wickremesinghe says that a comprehensive long-term economic philosophy should precede discussions on education while emphasizing the convergence of the framework of education, economic and climate change is crucial. Speaking at a meeting held at the Presidential Secretariat yesterday, the President also stressed the importance of establishing a robust education system and cultivating a skilled workforce to accomplish the objectives of becoming a developed country by 2048. He also emphasized the need for fixed examination periods and highlighted that Sri Lanka needs to look at automation to meet the labour shortage within the next 10 years.
The first discussion of the expert committee appointed to support the Ministerial Committee for the National Education Policy Framework was held yesterday at the Presidential Secretariat under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe.
අධ්‍යාපන ක්‍රමය ගැන කතා කරන්නට පෙර අපේ දීර්ඝකාලීන ආර්ථික දර්ශනය ගැන කතා කරන්නට තිබෙනවා. පාරවල් දෙකක යන්න බෑ. එහෙම ක්‍රියා කරන අවස්ථාවකදී මොකද්ද කෙටි කාලේ බලන්නේ මේ ණය ප්‍රශ්නයෙන් බේරෙන්න. ඊට පස්සේ රට ඉදිරියට යනවා නම් සමස්තයක් හැටියට අපිට අවුරුදු 5කින් විතර 108ක 9ක වේගය අරගෙන අවුරුදු 10ක්වත් ඒක තියාගන්න ඕමනයි. එහෙම කරනවා නම් විතරයි අපිට දියුණු වෙන්න පුළුවන්. ඒ අනුව ආර්ථිකය ප්‍රතිව්‍යුහගත කරන්නට තියෙනවා. එතනදී අපිට තියෙන ප්‍රධාන සම්පත මිනිස් සම්පත. පළමුවෙන්ම අධ්‍යාපනයයි ඒ ආර්ථික රාමුවයි ඊළඟට පරිසර දේශගුණ විපර්යාස රාමුවයි තුනම එකට එකතු වෙන්න ඕන. අපි තරඟකාරී වුණත් විතරයි ඉදිරියට යන්නේ. What is the education technology? Brick and mortar universities and technical colleges, or are we going beyond that into AI? The next one. You must have good teachers. How do you equip them for that? Now we have 13 years education. Can we keep all students in the schools for 13 years? It's cheaper than putting them out onto the road. International schools or private schools are the same. There's no difference. But then all of them must be registered. All schools, government and private, must have the same standards. So we have to set up an inspectorate. Without inspectorate, you can't have a school system. All exams must be held on a given date. You can't have more than 6 months waiting for results. Within that, next year you must go to the university or resit for the exam. We'll also have to bring a law on classroom size, 40 and then maybe reduced to 30. England is 25 now, so we must work at least on to 30 within a short time. We will have a labour shortage. There will be surplus labour in the rest of South Asia other than us, but there will be labour shortages in some of the ASEAN countries, plus in others completely in East Asia. So the idea is that we go on full automation within 10 years' time, so that we will have highly skilled, even automated labor force working up to 71, which will offset the fact India has excess of labor. For the simple reason, China and all, which is manufacturing, all automate, the cheapest salaries will be in Sri Lanka. So let's move it quickly that we become the automated manufacturing center in the region, plus of course our move towards high-value agriculture.
Sri Lanka's GDP is estimated to have contracted 11.5% in the first quarter of 2023 compared to a year ago. In its national accounts estimates for the first quarter, the Department of Census and Statistics said the country's GDP at constant price during the first 3 months declined to 3.114 billion compared to 3.5 billion in the same period of 2022. Driven by paddy cultivation, forestry and freshwater aquaculture, the agriculture sector of the economy expanded by 0.8% in the first quarter compared to a 4.4% contraction in the first 3 months of 2022. Industrial activities, however, shrank 23.4% after a contraction of 3.7% in the same quarter as last year, as construction works were halted with the increase of input prices and restrictions imposed on imports. Meanwhile, the services sector performance in the first quarter showed a decline of 5%, while in the corresponding period of last year, the sector shrank 1.8%. Former director of IMF's Institute for Capacity Development and member of Presidential Advisory Group on Debt Restructuring, Dr. Shamini Kure highlighted the urgent need to renegotiate tax holidays granted to most of the businesses in the country in order to ensure that the rich people pay more taxes. Speaking to Indivari Amuwatta at Hyde Park on AdaDerana 24, Dr. Kure said most of the beneficiaries of tax holidays are local firms and not foreign businesses. During the current affairs program, she added that Sri Lanka receives lower levels of foreign investment compared to countries such as Vietnam.
In your view, what have we achieved so far towards the goals set for 2048 and beyond?
We have achieved a lot. Sometimes I find that people get very negative, but we shouldn't forget where we came from. But it's not over. This is a marathon, it's not a sprint. So it's going to take us a while to recover and set ourselves on what I would say is an inclusive, sustainable growth path. That's what we have to do. You know, the way countries become developed countries is that they grow for long periods of time, steadily. If we can achieve a per capita income growth, that is growth per person of about 3% per person, over 20, 30 years, we will be hitting the top part of the upper middle income group. So that's what we have to aim for. But to do that, we have to do a lot of things today. And if we make the wrong choices today, we will not get there. We will be looking more like an Argentina, stagnating.
What fundamental policy measures to go there?
One of the most important things is to fix the hole that is in our fiscal accounts. We've made some progress. The government introduced a tax policy that I think is sufficiently progressive. The big problem in Sri Lanka is that the very rich do not pay sufficient taxes. The business people and also corporations, that think how many tax breaks we give people. They're still giving tax breaks to corporations. They shouldn't do that. You don't have to tax corporations always at 30%. If you tax them at 25 or 4, then everybody has to pay. No tax holiday. And I think we should renegotiate some of our past tax holidays. You know, some people have got tax holidays for 30, 40 years. That's not fair. There are people with 100,000 rupees paying a month, paying 6,000 rupees, and there are people who pay nothing. We have to remember that a lot of the beneficiaries of the tax breaks are local firms, not foreign firms. There's very little foreign direct investment into Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka gets very little compared with Vietnam or Indonesia. These tax breaks really don't work. Foreign investors come to countries because of stable macro environments, respect for private property, access to stable electricity cost, infrastructure and things like that. They don't come for tax breaks. It's way down and they don't even mind. We should not exempt from VAT. The VAT needs to be administered in a flat, uniform way. 15% is fine. But the thing is that we must match match it with cash transfers to the less well-off. See, you have to balance it so that the better off people are paying taxes, but you don't give exemptions. Exemptions benefit, even VAT exemptions on things like food, benefit mainly the well-off.
But at the same time, the poor need to benefit out of a proper social safety net.
What I'm describing will build the tax net to hopefully 18% of GDP rather than 8%. My idea would be around 20%. The way to do it is to then control subsidizing state-owned corporations like Sri Lankan Airlines, the CPC, the Ceylon Electricity Board and the Road Authority. Now, we have an enormous military wage bill, which needs to be not so big. So we have to have a military that's fit for purpose in the next 15, 20 years. Then we will free up fiscal resources by reallocating towards cash transfers for poor people, more spending on health, more spending on education. We have to generate primary surpluses of 2.3% for about 5 to 10 years more. You know, it's not done just because we just get it for 1 year. No, we have to maintain it. Why? Because we have a huge debt to pay off, and so we have to face that interest burden, not fully, because hopefully our partners will write down some of our debt. But the fact is we have to generate enough to pay that past interest payment.
The Supreme Court today refused to grant leave on proceeding with 2 fundamental rights petitions filed against the restructuring of Sri Lanka Telecom. This development comes in the wake of a cabinet decision earlier this week to divest the government-owned shares in SLT. The FR petition was filed by petitioners JB Gurusinghe, President of the Sri Lanka All Communication Employees Union, and the SLT Samagi Sevaka Sangamaya Indika Priyadarshana. Responding for the government, the Deputy Solicitor General allayed security concerns raised at the hearing, calling them baseless. He confirmed that this development would not be in any way be prejudicial to the stakeholders or the subscribers of SLT as alleged in the petitions. He further added that Cabinet had already given the green light on this venture. This comes months after the budget speech delivered by the President in his capacity as Finance Minister, where this plan was first intimated. Following a lengthy hearing, the 3-member panel of the Supreme Court judges dismissed both petitions. Sri Lanka Podujana Peramuna has agreed to continue the support to the President's program to develop the country. The Secretary of SLPP Sagara Karyavasam said that SLPP's national organizer Basil Rajapaksa gave this assurance during a discussion held with the President yesterday.
A special discussion between the leaders of the parties representing the ruling party and President Ranil Wickremesinghe was held at the Presidential Secretariat office yesterday afternoon. Prime Minister Dinesh Gunawardena, National Organizer of the SLPP Basil Rajapaksa, General Secretary Sagara Karyavasam, Minister Douglas Devananda, Minister Jeevan Thondaman, United National Party Member of Parliament Vajra Abeyewardena and Member of Parliament ALM Ataulla participated in this discussion. Further discussions took place regarding the non-participation of SLPP seniors in a government party discussion held at the invitation of the President. An agreement was reached with the President that the party's leadership would be informed prior to when SLPP MPs are summoned for discussions on the government's action plan, which was the issue in the first place. The SLPP national organizer Basil Rajapaksa reiterated the support of SLPP to the program that the President is taking in rebuilding the country. He added that although some trade unions and some local government members belonging to his party have expressed some objections regarding the policies of the government, none of those problems are serious enough to withdraw support to the nation-building program. Further, he praised the President's prompt response despite his busy schedule. Moreover, both sides have agreed to meet once a month and hold discussions about similar situations that may arise.
Today, party leaders' meeting was summoned. SLPP had spoken about the issue. As far as the upcountry is concerned, we said we need to have a meeting with Honorable Mano Ganesan and the TPA heads. And did any success? Success for us. The rest you have to ask SLPP. I'm CWC now.
State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya urges the people not to panic over rupee depreciation. Join us on the other side of this short commercial break for more on that.
ගොඩමට පෙරලි කරන බලපුළුවන් කාරයා මහින්ද්‍රා යුවෝ ඩීමෝ වෙතින් වැඩම ගොඩයි ගොඩම තමයි ස්වරාජ් ට්‍රැක්ටර් ඩීමෝ වෙතින්
Abans Mid-Year Madness Sale 50% දක්වා වට්ටම් සමග මාස 24ක් දක්වා පොලි රහිතව ජුනි 20 වනදා දක්වා පමණයි. ඒ ත්‍රිත්වයේ තහවුරු කළ විශිෂ්ටත්වය දුෂ්‍යන්ත මහබදුගේ චරිත දිසානායක සමිතරත් නායක සිසිජී නුගේගොඩ ගම්පහ.
Physics නිලන්ත ජයසූරිය නවපන්ති ආරම්භය සුසිපුවන් ගම්පහ සීලින් පෙන් නුගේගොඩ සයන්ස් සෙන්ටර් ගාල්ල.
පහනුවර කුරුණෑගල කෑකල්ල අංකකේ භෞතික විද්‍යා පාඨමාලාව නුගේගොඩද අතික්‍රමණය කළ වගයි. ෆිසික්ස් දර්ශන ඔකුවෙල.
තනිව යන ගමනට නිවැරදි ගිණුම් කරන මග හේමාල් පෙරේරා.
Welcome back in more news. A new online passport application system was launched this afternoon under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. Accordingly, acceptance of online applications for passports began at 51 divisional secretariats across the island today following the launch. The new system was launched in a bid to provide the public with the opportunity to obtain passports more easily and effectively.
A new online passport application system was launched this afternoon under the patronage of President Ranil Wickremesinghe. The inaugural function was held at the Homagama Divisional Secretariat and the participation of Minister of Public Security Derana English. The new system was launched in a bid to provide the public with the opportunity to obtain passports more easily and effectively.
Passport ප්‍රශ්නේ මං හිතන්නේ අවුරුදු ගානක් තිස්සේ තිබුණා. මාස 8කට විතර කලින් ගත්තොත් පෝලිං තිබුණා අපේ ආගමන විගමන දෙපාර්තමේන්තු කාර්යාලය ඇතුළටවත් අපිට ඇවිදගෙන යන්න බැරි තරමට සෙනග දවස් 2-3 කොළඹට වෙලා ඉන්නවා ඒ කාර්යාලය ළඟ බිම බුදිය ගන්න. එවැනි තත්ත්වයක් තිබුණේ. ඊට පස්සේ අපි කල්පනා කරුවා මේ සියලු දෙනා මෙතනට එනවට වඩා අපිට යම් කිසි දෙයක් කරන්න පුළුවන් නම් එහෙම හිතලා තමයි අපි පාස්පෝර්ට් නිකුත් කිරීම සියලුම දිස්ත්‍රික්ක ආවරණය වෙන පරිදි තැම් 51ක අපි පටන් ගත්තේ.
මේ අපේ අලුත් වැඩසටහනේ කොටසක්. ඒ තමයි රටේ ඩිජිටල් කරණය සීග්‍රයෙන් ඉදිරියට යන්න. ඊළඟ අවුරුදු කිහිපය තුලදී ඒ ඩිජිටල් කරණය හැම අංශයකටම බලපාන විදිහට ගෙනියන්න.
With that, the acceptance of online applications for passports began today. The Department of Immigration and Immigration noted that applicants who submit their applications via this method will have the opportunity to provide fingerprints at the centres established at the offices of the Department for Registration of Persons, attached to 51 divisional secretariats throughout the island. Subsequent to obtaining the fingerprints, the passports will be sent to the applicants after 3 days under the urgent service, as well as within 14 days under normal service by a courier service of the Department of Posts. The passports will be forwarded to the applicants by post within 14 days under normal service. The relevant selections shall be made on the link Acceptance of Passport Applications Online on the website www.immigration.gov.lk of the department. Relevant information shall be included therein per the instructions given. The originals of the documents to be submitted in obtaining a passport mentioned on the website should be scanned and attached to the link as per the instructions. However, few cases such as loss of a valid passport, applying for children under 16 years of age, and applying for official and diplomatic passports are excluded from the online application process. It has also been assured that the one-day service of issuing passports at the Department of Immigration and Immigration will continue to operate as usual.
In business news, corporate leader Shiromal Kure said women should be looked at to support the economy during the current economic situation by filling in the gaps created in the labour market due to workforce migration. Delivering the keynote speech of the inaugural day of the Global Economic Forum and Top 50 Women Awards 2023, Shiromal Kure highlighted the importance of providing financial incentives to support women-run business in order to empower them. Business leaders, women entrepreneurs and academia from across the globe are in Sri Lanka to attend the 3-day forum.
Marking the 13th year of honouring inspiring women, men and corporates, Top 50 Women Global Economic Forum and Top 50 Global Awards, organised by the Women in Management in collaboration with Women in Work, a partnership between IFC and the Government of Australia, commenced in Colombo today.
The decisions made in home and society are directly connected to a national and global economy. So we can't exclude women when we are making decisions. Sri Lanka is a nation with many potential. While we are in the middle of two largest economic growing countries, India and China, in the world, but we have our own uniqueness. We are a very simple country with so much to offer. We hardly compete. We wait for people to invite, we ask people to open the door, and we stand and we wait. That's why we have less women in the boards. Invitations were not given.
Keynote address was delivered by corporate leader Shiramal Kure on the theme Lift Up the Women to Lift Up the World.
So it is not a secret that women bring unique perspectives and solutions, unique talents and life experiences that are valuable and very useful in the corporate world and society in general. If we look at Sri Lanka at present, we have a severe drain of our workforce and youth. They are migrating to other countries, they are looking for greener pastures. This is also so worldwide. The men or the women power in the working population is getting down, reduced. We see there's a huge shortage of labor. So this is a good time as ever for Sri Lanka and the world to enable and empower women to be involved in the transformation of the world. Economic empowerment of women across the world led to the remarkable economic and social transformation during the last 50 years. Let us work together to boost her self-esteem, shut down the negativity, enable financial incentives and support for women-run businesses, giving proper education, including in IT-related activities.
The forum was enriched with panel discussions representing top Sri Lankan business leaders as well as international speakers.
What challenges you see at present that Sri Lanka should prioritize?
Sri Lanka also needs to do some deep structural reform.
How do you look to bring banking stability and contribution?
We are looking at certain measures, how we can improve and enhance the soundness and safety of the banking system.
How do you think Sri Lanka can expedite her presence in the global market?
Sri Lanka should believe in the concept of a civilizational advantage and a cultural advantage and the geographical advantage. Put together the human capital of Sri Lanka.
The only thing which I find the initiative lacking is made in Sri Lanka.
State Minister of Finance Ranjit Siambalapitiya says the central bank will work to manage the rupee depreciation against the US dollar. The minister urged people not to panic over the matter, citing a demand and supply issue as the main reason why it's taking place, and further clarified why the drop is being experienced.
නෑ ලොකුවට කලබල වෙන්න දෙයක් නෑ. නමුත් ඩොලර් එකේ මිල තීන්දුව වෙන්නේ තිල්ලුමත් සැපෙමුත් අතර. ලොකු ආනයන ප්‍රමාණයක් රටට ආව සතියක් වුණොත් එදාට ඩොලර් වලට තියෙන ඉල්ලුම වැඩි වෙනවා. එතකොට අපේ ඩොලර් එකයි රුපියලයි අතර තියෙන පරස්පරය ආයෙ වෙනස් වෙනවා. ඒ නිසා කලබල වෙන්න දෙයක් නෑ. අපි හොඳ කළමනාකරණයක් කරනවා. මොකද අපි දැනට මහ බැංකුව ඩොලර් බිලියන 3ක් විතර මිලදී ගත්තා. ඒ මිලදී ගත්ත නිසා තමයි ඩොලර් එක ඔය තැනවත් තිබුණේ. දැන් තවත් පහළට යනවා. ඒ නිසා අපි ඒව බොහොම සීරුවෙන් පාලනය කරන්නේ. හැබැයි එක සතියක වැඩි වුණා, එක සතියක තව පොඩ්ඩක් අඩු වුණා කියලා කලබල වෙන්න දෙයක් නෑ. ඒක ඉල්ලුමත් සැපෙවුමත් අතර ඇති වෙන්නේ.
Minister of Agriculture Mahinda Amaravira said prices of fertilizer were slashed with effect from today. Addressing the media today, the minister went on to say that strict action will be taken against officers who do not comply with the mandate of the ministry and do not provide proper services to the farmer community. He emphasized that disciplinary action has already been initiated against several such officers.
අද සිට අපේ යූරියා අපේ සියලුම ගොවිජන සේවා මධ්‍යස්ථාන හරහා රුපියල් 9000 බැගින් ලබා දෙන්න කටයුතු කරනවා. ඒ සඳහා අවශ්‍ය පොහොර මේ වන විටත් ප්‍රවාහනය කරමින් තිබෙනවා. ඒ වගේම මේ කන්නේ අපි මඩ පොහොර නොමිලේ ලබා දෙන වැඩපිළිවෙල ක්‍රියාත්මක කරා. ඒ වගේම බණ්ඩි පොහොර මිලත් රුපියල් 4500කින් අඩු කරා. ඒ වගේම පොහොර මිලදී ගැනීම සඳහා හෙක්ටාරයකට රුපියල් 20000කුත් දෙකක් වගා කරනවා 40000ක් විදියට වවුචර් පතුත් මේ වෙන විට නිකුත් කරලා තිබෙනවා.
සමහර ගොවින් කියනවා මේක පෞද්ගලික කාර්ය නම් නියමිත වේලාවට ලැබුණ නැහැ කියලා
අපේ පැත්තෙන් කරන්න පුළුවන් කාර්යයන් කරනවා. සමහර නිලධාරීන්ගේ නොසැලකිලිමත්කම නිසා ගොවීන්ට මේ සහනය ලැබීමේ යම් යම් ප්‍රමාද සිදු වෙන බව අපිට වාර්තා වෙලා තිබෙනවා. ඒ පිළිබඳව දැනටමත් අපි නිලධාරීන් කීප දෙනෙකුට විරුද්ධව විනය ක්‍රියාමාර්ග අරගෙන තියෙනවා. ඉදිරියේදීත් මේ ගොවි ජනතාවට හරි සේවයක් ලබා දෙන්න නැතුව කටයුතු කරනවා නම් මොන තරාතිරමක නිලධාරියෙක් වුණත් එයාට රිව ප්‍රියවර ගන්න අපි කටයුතු කරනවා.
මේ පෞද්ගලික අංශයේ ආයතන කියලා තියෙනවා මේක රුපියල් 4000 ගානටත් පොහොර දෙන්න හැකියාව තියෙනවායි කියලා.
නේද අපි එයාටත් සම්පූර්ණ නිදහස ලබා දීලා තියෙනවා පොහොර ගෙනල්ලා දෙන්න. ඒගොල්ලෝ ගෙනල්ලා දෙන්නේ නැහැ නේ. ඒගොල්ලෝ ගෙනල්ලා දෙන්නේ 12000ට තමයි. නිකන් පාරේ ඇවිදින කට්ටිය කියන එක නෙමෙයි. ඉතින් පොහොර සමාගම් ගෙනල්ලා දෙනවා නම් එයාට විකුණන්න පුළුවන් 4000ට 5000ට විකුණනවා නම් අපි තවත් උදව්වක් එයාට කරන්න සූදානම්ෙන් ඉන්නවා. අවශ්‍ය නම් රතු පළස උනත් දාලා දෙන්න.
The Colombo Bourse closed higher today, helped by consumer staples and consumer discretionary stocks. The CSE All Share Index closed at 9,279.28 points, up 0.68%, rising for a sixth straight session. On the CSE All Share Index, Selingco Insurance and Ceylon Beverage Holdings were the top gainers, rising by 7.2% and 12.2% respectively. Meanwhile, trading volume fell to 97.2 million shares from 123.7 million shares in the previous session. The equity market's turnover rose to 2.85 billion rupees from 2.71 billion rupees in the previous session. Foreign investors were net sellers, offloading stocks worth 172.4 million rupees, while domestic investors were net buyers, purchasing shares worth 2.81 billion rupees. Now let's take a look at how the rupee traded against other major currencies during the day. With that, we wrap up tonight's edition of First at 9. Thank you for joining. I'm Shanella Fernando. Have a good night.